The black man has long been under attack by a system designed to oppress and disrupt the unity of the black family. From the 1600s, during slavery, black males were treated like studs, moved from plantation to plantation, impregnating women in hopes of mass-producing a readily available free supply of slaves. Even after slavery, up through Reconstruction, black men were often unfairly jailed, even hanged for bogus charges or minor infractions. Imagery such as nooses and burning crosses evoked fear. Dreaded lynchings were hallmarks of the Jim Crow era. In modern times, welfare programs inherently encourage separation of minority families. With a history so dark, it's no wonder when major pieces of civil rights legislation were passed in the 1960s, we felt as though we had overcome. It's often been said that if history teaches us anything, it is this: history will repeat itself. And my God, we are currently experiencing that dark, dark reality. Once again, widespread, unjustified attacks on black males are legal. We acknowledge the need for and will fight for police reform and culture change. However, paradigm shifts do not occur overnight. In the interim, we must arm ourselves with knowledge and avoid playing into the hands of a would-be perpetrator by not doing things to make ourselves targets. God holds the unique ability to see who we truly are beyond the exterior. As for man, he judges by what he sees, so let's do our utmost not to present ourselves as a stereotypical thug or criminal. As a people, we've been criticized for our absence in the political and democratic process, and to a large extent, that criticism is grounded in truth. That should not be the case today, especially not for the Southern University family. We have a rich tradition of political activism and civic engagement. The very building we are meeting in today is named for two former students, Leonard Douglas Brown and Denver Allen Smith, who refused to accept the status quo. These two young men, who were Southern University students, were murdered on November 16, 1972. To this date, their killers have never been brought to justice. Let that sink in for a minute. To this date, their killers have never been brought to justice. Reverend Sharpton and other dignified guests, let it be known, starting here tonight, Southern University seeks to join your efforts to convert these geographically isolated moments into a full-scale movement that will serve as a catalyst for positive and permanent change.
Reverend Al Sharpton is the founder and president of the National Action Network, NAN, a not-for-profit civil rights organization headed in Harlem, New York, with over 70 chapters nationwide. Recent NAN activism has focused on crucial national cases such as voter engagement, national gun violence intervention, jobs, corporate responsibility, immigration reform, healthcare reform, and seeking justice in cases including Trayvon Martin, Ramarley Graham, and Kendrick Johnson, to name a few. Whether it was his noteworthy presidential run as a candidate for the Democratic Party in 2004, or his compelling speech at the Democratic National Convention in Boston, Massachusetts, Reverend Sharpton has had an irrefutable impact on national politics and civil rights because of his strong commitment to equality and progressive politics. A March in 2013 Zogby Public Opinion poll said 1 out of every 4 African Americans say that Reverend Sharpton is the person that speaks most for them, higher than any other civil rights or political leader. Reverend Al Sharpton has been praised by President Barack Obama as the voice for the voiceless and a champion for the downtrodden. and by former President George W. Bush, who said that Al cares just as much as I care about making sure that every child learns to read, write, add, and subtract. Coretta Scott King hailed him as the voice for the oppressed, a leader who has protested injustice as a passionate and unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. Newsweek magazine said, if we didn't have an Al Sharpton, we'd have to create one. CBS's 60 Minutes stated, Sharpton is the go-to black leader today. The New York Daily News called Reverend Sharpton the most prominent civil rights activist in the nation. Reverend Al Sharpton is currently the host of the daily television show Politics Nation on MSNBC, which analyzes the top political and social news and features of the country's leading newsmakers. The show is so popular, it broke the MSNBC history, the rating history, with the highest viewership of any show at 6:00 p.m. since the network's inception. Reverend Sharpton also hosts a nationally syndicated radio show, Keeping It Real, which is heard daily all over the country, as well as 2 other radio shows. Reverend Sharpton delivers his live remarks at NAN's weekly Saturday rallies at NAN's Harlem headquarters at the House of Justice. Reverend Al Sharpton is the author of The Rejected Stone, Al Sharpton and the Path to American Leadership. In this book, Reverend Al intimately discusses his personal evolution from street activist, pulpit provocator, and civil rights leader to the larger-than-life man he is today, while providing a series of essential life lessons that readers can adopt to transform their own lives. In the business world, Reverend Sharpton has been successful in getting the private sector to engage in billions of dollars in contracts with minority communities. In 1999, he launched the Madison Avenue Initiative, MAI, to ensure that those who do business with advertising outlets around the country deal even-handedly with agencies, media outlets, and publications run by people of color, targeting major corporations who have subsequently extended their advertising dollars to reach more African American and Hispanic communities. Reverend Sharpton was educated in New York public schools and attended Brooklyn College. He has an honorary doctorate of divinity from Bethune-Cookman University, a fellow HBCU, Virginia Union University, and an honorary degree from AP Bible College. He also received the BET Humanitarian Award. Reverend Sharpton says his religious convictions are the basis for his life, and on most Sundays he preaches to congregations across the nation. Coming to you, please welcome Reverend Al Sharpton, the president of the founder.
Right now we'll have Reverend Sharpton come up, and then Shalirik will bless us as soon as he finishes.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me thank you for being here tonight and inviting us. And I want to say with me tonight is the attorney for the Trayvon Martin case and Michael Brown case in Ferguson that we have worked together on down through the years. And I'm going to, after I say some remarks, bring them on to explain a local case here that involves a young black man, since we're talking about black men today, because it's so easy to be concerned about things elsewhere and not deal with things right in your own backyard. Don't be Militant Ferguson and Uncle Tom in Baton Rouge. And the Jones case and the White case, the Jones case in Ohio, White case here in Iberia, the case of Pinnock in California, the chokehold case in New York, Staten Island, all of these cases You need young warriors that are willing to stand up first and foremost, because you understand any of those young men could have been you. Nobody was looking for Trayvon. Nobody was looking for Michael Brown. They saw what they feel nobody cared about. That's right, man. And they went because they felt that there would be no price to pay in the judicial system. If nothing else, we must show them that we care about our young black men, and that if you do something, we're going to expose it to the world. So I want Attorney Ben Crump, just stand, we're going to hear for a minute. Attorney Ben Crump's with me tonight. Strong black lawyer, strong lady that has fought in the courts for a long time, is Attorney Carol Powell Lexington. Please stand. Let me say this. You are college age. In the 60s, we romanticized the movement then. That's right. But the movement in the 60s was at many different levels. You had Martin Luther King leading in the South, nonviolent movement. You had Malcolm in the North. You had Adam Clayton Powell in Congress. You had Thurgood Marshall in the courts. You had Fannie Lou Hamer in Mississippi. You had Gloria Richardson in North Carolina. There were different roles that people played. Some of the students said King was too old and formed SNCC. King never even saw his 40th birthday. But it was the generation thing. There ain't nothing new under the sun. You always had young folks saying that the old folk were too old folks saying the young folk didn't know what they was doing. You always had the light-skinned black and the dark-skinned, and we arguing about whose skinned was the right. You always had the Baptists thinking the Methodists was wrong, and the Muslim always had this. But we found a way to bring all of that together for the mutual benefit of everybody. The issue is not how old you are, what church you go to, what your ideology is. The issue is that if we are being killed or being disenfranchised, that we've got to stand together to save all of us, to save any of us. I told them this morning, they're having a National Baptist Convention at the Convention Center in New Orleans. They're not shooting folk because they're Baptists. That's right. They don't ask you your church before they shoot you. Come on now. They're not shooting folk because they're Muslim. They are targeting us, and we must have enough sense to come together to stop the targeting. When you look in this state, one of the things that when I was younger, we used to always talk about what we wouldn't take. And we took a lot. And a lot of young folks there, I wouldn't be a slave. Couldn't make me no slave. I wouldn't sit in no back of no bus. I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. Well, let me show you what they're doing to you right now that you are taking. Come on, since you so bad, come on. Since you won't take nothing, right now, 2014, in Louisiana, they changing the voting laws, changing early vote, changing ID to vote, and eliminating people off the rolls when people fought and died to get you the right to vote. Where's the movement that you would take to stop that? Come on. Why do they want to stop you from voting? Because if you vote, 32% of the people that are eligible to vote in Louisiana are black. If half of them showed up, Jinder would be here tonight with his fists up. You have a governor that has a national reputation as a right-wing conservative, and we don't have a a vibrant student voter registration drive in the state. Cut funding. Standing up behind police forces that are brutal.
That's right.
So you got work you can do right here. You can't go selling wolf tickets and Jindal is your governor and ain't nothing happened about Jindal.
Come on now.
You can't tell me how bad you are, and I see homeboys standing up there woofing, and ain't no fear in them. Right here in Louisiana, Iberia, young man named White leaves a convenience store with his friend. Police say they got a call there was a fight in the store. Stop White and his friend. They said, no, we wasn't the ones. We can go back to the store and tell you. They got a video. People in the store tell you it wasn't us. They go back and forth. They tell us they arrest White, handcuff him, pat him down twice, found a small amount of marijuana in his pocket. Then they say it was a small amount of cocaine. But he got in the car handcuffed, shot himself and killed himself. Now, y'all got some magic cops down here. They can find some weed and some blow. That's what we call cocaine in New York. I don't know what y'all do down here. I ain't been in church all my life. I know what they talking about. But they couldn't see a gun. How you miss a gun and can find a joint? How you miss a gun and can find a little piece of cocaine? And then how does somebody take a gun, handcuffed that you didn't find, and shoot themselves? And why would he shoot himself if all you were looking for is somebody that had a fight in the convenience store? That ain't the basis of me killing myself. People wanted in 5 states may have a motive. But a fight in a convenience store, but it don't stop there. Then they come back around 6 months later and say, well, no, he didn't shoot himself in the back. He shot himself in the chest. Now, they done went from insult to injury. Now they're telling us we just stupid. Because not only did he have a gun you couldn't find, he's Houdini and knows how to use handcuffed behind, how he can get a gun and shoot himself in the front. Every young black man in this state ought to be standing up on this White case. Because if they get away without telling the truth on White, that means they can stop any one of you and say any story and it passes the White test because you didn't do anything about that. His mother and father here with us tonight. Give them a hand, let them know we're with them. Stand up. The White family. Now, so from voting to police misconduct to how they're cutting the budgets, one of the things we saw in Ferguson, they cut the budget to education, but they have all of these military equipment in local police.
Amen.
Can you believe the kind of military apparatus they roll out in the street on non-violent marches? You got people standing on rooftops with sniper weapons. But what they did was they woke up people all over the country. Because people began understanding if they'll do that in Ferguson, they'll do it all over the country. First thing we got to do is we have to link up and mobilize all over the country and put value on the lives of our young black men to let the world know that we are not going to continue to take these abuses. One of the things that we did with Trayvon Martin is that when Ben Crump called me one day and said, Reverend Al, we need you in a case in Sanford, Florida. I never heard of Sanford. Put Tracy Martin on the phone and he started telling us about what happened to Trayvon. I said to them, I don't know what we're going to do, but I know we're going to do something. We went down there, had the first rally, over 20,000 people. Same thing when we got the call from Carol or Powell, Lexington, about right down the road, Gina, Louisiana. I never heard of Gina. I got a call with Raymond Brown, rode down there, cell phone don't even work down there. I said, y'all got me in the woods with no cell phone, ain't no telling what they gonna do to me. But why do we go? First of all, let me tell you, because I know y'all all intellectual and scholars in Southern and all of that. I went to Brooklyn College where we read the newspaper, thought we were smart. Y'all read real books and all that. So let me explain to y'all the theory to what we do. People, you know, the intellectuals, well, marching don't solve a problem. Marching is not designed to solve a problem. Marching is designed to expose a problem.
That's all.
And if somebody don't expose it, nobody gonna solve it. You've got to first bring attention to a problem before you solve it. So the idea of marching is to highlight that there is a situation. Nobody knew Michael Bell and the Five were in trouble in Gina till we went in there and marched. Once we marched, it created the climate for Powell, Lexington and them to go to the government and solve the problem.
That's right.
But we had to create the tension for them to have the climate. Our job is to change the climate. Martin Luther King said there are two types of leaders. There are thermometers and there are thermostats. Thermometers give you the temperature in the room. Thermostat changes the temperature in the room. Lawyers tell you what we got. Folk like me come and turn the heat up. So folks start sweating in the room so the lawyers can talk to them more with some sense. So when we come to Gina, our job was to raise enough hair till the lawyers could bring some hair.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do here with white. We're going to do, there is value in that, because if nothing else, they will know that you cannot get away.
That's right.
We're just shooting down black boys like they don't matter.
Amen. Amen.
Now, when Reverend Toon, who's in our National Action Network field office, called me about Michael Brown, Michael Brown's granddaddy called me. He said, Reverend, you need to hear this about this young man in Ferguson. I said, Toon, let the office handle it. We get calls at our offices around the country every day. He said, no. He said, you got your iPad? I said, yeah. He told me what to pull up, and I pulled up. This was the morning after he was killed, Sunday morning. He said, pull up the iPad, and I pulled it up, and there was this boy laying there in the streets in Ferguson. He said they left him in the gutter 4 hours. I said, what? He said 4 hours. I said, well, connect his granddaddy in. That's when I committed to go to Ferguson. Had been no riot, all that old Sharpton and them run behind. Wasn't no camera.
Right.
Wasn't no riot till Sunday night, Sunday morning. Granddaddy called me back and said, we got Ben Crump. Ben Crump and I were involved in Michael Brown before it was a camera. Monday night, the granddaddy went on my TV show on MSNBC and said, yes, I've asked you to come in. We don't chase cameras, we bring cameras. But let me tell you something. When people start telling you all they want is attention, tell them that's exactly. Tell them Reverend Al was at my school. And he said that's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Because don't nobody need us to come in and keep a secret about what they do. That's an activist's job, is to get publicity.
That's right.
Y'all see us on the news talking about injustice. You don't see me on the preachers in LA. I don't get that kind of publicity. You doggone right we trying to get publicity on the white case, on the brown case, and on any other case against the injustice. That's our job to give publicity.
Yeah, amen.
Why would anybody want to suffer in silence?
Yes, sir.
It is your job in your generation to say, given what we're facing today, from voter abuse to shooting down of innocent young men and our gun violence against each other.
Yeah.
Separate issues, but just as important. We got to stop folk from killing us, and we got to stop this of killing each other. Michael Brown is not dead because of black on black crime, but we still need to address all that while we in here. Well, right now, you don't understand. We ain't got no hope. So that don't mean you kill your brother.
That's right.
That don't mean you disrespect your mama. That don't mean you disrespect our women. Running around calling us names. I was arguing in Missouri, some of the rappers got mad when I started talking about drop the N-word and calling our women hoes and bees. We can argue about that, and we all done use the words. But I told them we must create a climate where we're above that. I remember years ago when Reverend Rivers, who's with me tonight from our Religious Affairs Department, we talked about burying the N-word, and one of the rappers got mad at me. We debated one night on BT, about an hour and a half. And he had what I call a nigger fit on me. Everything I said. Nigger, nigger, nigger. I said, brother, I've used the word usually, but we need to respect nigger, nigger, nigger. About an hour and a half later, we hadn't resolved it. Went on BT. He went his way, I went mine. Crump, about 4 or 5 days later, I was on the road. I picked up a paper. He'd been arrested, gotten some altercation with somebody. About 2 days after that, they called me from National Action Network and said, he's on the phone, want to talk to you. I said, connect him to my cell phone. They connected him. I said, how you doing? Man, I ain't doing too good. I said, well, what happened? Man, I got busted. I said, yeah, I read about it in the paper. Yeah, man, they got me. And I need your help. I said, you need my help? What you need me to do? He said, man, they violated my civil rights. I told him, niggas ain't got no civil rights. How you define yourself is how you confine yourself. We must stop acting like this is a lost generation. This is a generation that can excel in any degree it makes up its mind it's going to do. This is a generation unlike any generation. This is the first generation that grew up watching a black family walk out the White House every day. This is the first generation that grew up watching a black man the head of the Justice Department. How can you reach so high and then let people bring you so low? If blacks had more pride in the back of the bus, how can we have no pride when you sit up in the White House now? They're trying to make you live beneath your privilege. Barack Obama should not be an aberration. You should be the next one. You should be the next Eric Holder. And you are, if we stand up and claim it and proclaim it. Amen. Those of us that been out here a while, we've done ours. It's your time. Old folk, Cleo's old. Where Cleo? Probably somewhere nodding off sleep. That's all. We need young men and young women that'll come to the forefront and stand up not for the cause, but for themselves, because you are the cause. Because until you understand that you're just one person away from being the next White, or the next Michael Brown, or the next Trayvon Martin, and understand it personally, then you will not understand the vulnerability. Nobody volunteered to be a victim. I volunteered to do what I do. Crump, Carol volunteered to do what they do. Rivers would do what they do. Cleo. But Trayvon didn't volunteer to be Trayvon Martin. Michael Brown didn't ask to be Michael Brown. You don't have to ask for it. But if we're vulnerable, it's a vulnerability to all of us. That's right. So I come to Southern to ask you to stand up for yourself and to be involved at any level you can. Well, Rev, I don't know if we can get everybody. They never had everybody. The biggest march they had in the 60s was a march on Washington. One but 250,000 there. They never had a million-man march in '95. That's right. Never was everybody in the movement. But it was enough to make a difference. And if enough of you would get together, just enough of the students in Southern can turn Baton Rouge around and can get Jindal's attention and can turn the voting laws and the police joy. Just be part of enough to say that I am not going to live in a time where they can say that history went backwards in my time. That I lived for a reason. Because why are we going to educate ourselves if we're not going to continue to advance society? How can we with all, do you realize Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer, Roy Wilkins, all of them changed, Thurgood Marshall, changed the U.S. Constitution and never had a fax machine? You realize they defeated apartheid and Jim Crow in the South and never knew what any of this technology was? On long distance rotary phone and telegram, they took on the biggest, most powerful, richest country in the world and changed it. Here you are sitting up here with email, Instagram, Facebook, 2 or 3 cell phones in your pocket, BlackBerry in your other pocket, and can't get 5 Negroes together to do nothing. Got more to work with and less to show for it. Well, how are we gonna get started? How you get your party started? How you get your rumor started? You get up on Facebook and Instagram, or Instagram that. Then they got Houdini suicides going on in Iberia. And I'm scared about it. Email that. Tweet that. People walk around. I got 2 daughters in their 20s. Everything texting. I take them out to dinner. They text me across the table. You all right? I'm sitting right here. Text that. And if we would do that, we can make a difference. So I come to challenge you. Be the leaders now, not the leaders of tomorrow. Because you're not the victims of tomorrow, you're the victims of today. And you must be the leaders of today and the stand-up of today. We can, if we will. The challenge is up to you. Thank you, God bless you. I want, and we've got to bring the family out, but I want Cleo Fields, who's been a friend of mine for many years. We come along together when he was in Congress and fought everything I could think of. I want to be able to have a group of young people that we will work with permanently, Cleo, on this voting and police thing that you put together. We'll be back here to deal with that. But before we bring the family out, I really want Attorney Crump and Attorney Powell, Lexington Powell, to say some words on the end of my part. And because I think it's very important. I again want to give credit to Reverend Raymond Brown, who never gave up. Like any family, me and him fuss and fight, but we get in the foxhole together, because ain't many left. Well, give a hand to the premier attorney of our times in civil rights, Attorney Benjamin Crump.
Southern University, I want you all to really give a great round of applause for Reverend Al Sharpton, because he is the most effective civil rights leader living today. And it's not because he got that national television show, it's not because he got a national radio show, but it's because he answers the bell every time we call him, and he gets results. That's why he's the most effective civil rights leader living in America today. And God bless you, Reverend Al. Now, we're going to be brief. We're going to be brief because I know that Southern University gets it, and I'm preaching to the choir. We just need the choir to sing a little louder, okay? Trayvon Martin, you all were there, and so for his mother and father down in Florida, I want you to repeat after me. I am Trayvon. I am Trayvon. One more time. I am Trayvon. And for the family of Ferguson of Michael Brown, Southern, you all did it on social media so good. I want you to just simply raise your hands and say, hands up. Hands up. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Hands up. Hands up. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. One last time so they can hear it in Ferguson. Hands up. Hands up. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Thank you. And now we are here in Louisiana with this great lawyer, Carol Powell Lexington, dealing with your own Holocaust, your own situation. And I want to thank this great NBA lawyer and other National Bar Association lawyers, my sister Monique Edwards, Al Perkins, my brother Judge Yvette Alexander, Attorney Cleo Fields, the great Cleo Fields, Judge Faith Johnson. Y'all, all the lawyers in the room, please stand and y'all give them a round of applause for fighting on the front line. And to Southern University, we're so appreciative of you taking a stand, because you could have said that don't affect me. I don't know Victor White. Why I'm coming out, I don't know Michael Brown, but you took the stand, and it matters, because there is a terrible recent trend that is developing. And I want to talk as a lawyer briefly to you. The recent trend of these Houdini handcuffed alleged suicide shootings of young men of color in the back of police cars. Right. It happened in 2012 in Jonesboro, Arkansas with Travis Carter. He was handcuffed, and they said in the police car, he somehow, like Houdini, shot himself in the right temple, even though he was left-handed. And then last year in North Carolina, Jesus Herter, 17 years old, in the back of a police car, handcuffed. They say he too, like Houdini, somehow shot himself in the face. And then we come to Louisiana. I ain't talking about Ferguson now. Louisiana, New Iberia, Victor White III in the back seat of the car. I couldn't believe it when Carol was telling me about it. In the back seat of the car. And it's worse than all of them, because unlike Travis, unlike Jose, they were out on the street somewhere. This was at the police station in their custody. And he allegedly handcuffed behind his back. Somehow, if you believe the coroner, first the state police said he shot himself in the back, but thanks to Carol doing some incredible work, they had to admit that no, the coroner had to come back and say the shot came through the chest. And just for a second, as I told members of the media, just for a second, you thought for just a second, okay, they admitted that he was shot in the chest. The family is going to get justice. The truth is going to come out. But then shockingly, he still concluded, Attorney Fields, that the cause and manner of death is suicide. I don't even know how you can explain it to grieving parents and not make them just lose their mind when you say, hold on, my son was handcuffed in the back seat of the car, was shot in the chest, and y'all are saying it's suicide? It just, think about it, you all who have children. You get this terrible news that your child, who ain't a bad child, ain't got no criminal history and all this stuff, doing the right thing, that he was killed in police custody. And they say, even though he was handcuffed, with his hands behind his back, shot in the heart, they're saying it's suicide. How do you take that as a parent? You all got to think about that. So I want to just say to you, as lawyers, you all, at Southern University, we can't do it without you. As lawyers, we need you getting on social media, tweeting, following us and Carol. I'm at Attorney Crump. Carol gonna give you her Twitter, because we got to make this trend the way we made Trayvon Martin trend, the way we made Michael Brown trend in America. Because if we don't, there's a precedence out there that in Arkansas, Travis Carter, 2 years since his death, the manning cause of death is suicide. North Carolina, Jose Hurta, the manning cause of death is suicide. And if the manning cause of death remains suicide here in Louisiana, then this family don't even have a chance at getting due process. They don't have a chance of getting in the courtroom. If the cause of death is suicide, who you gonna arrest? If they can let that, and we said we won't call it a lie, but my grandmother told me if it looked like a duck, it walked like a duck, it quacked like a duck, it's a duck. And the fact that they would sit here and continue to perpetuate this thing and call the manning cause of death suicide, we got to stand up, y'all, because if we don't, nobody else will do it for us. Nobody else would do it for us. And lastly, before I give the microphone to Carol, you know, we at Southern University's campus, one of the institutions of higher education, one of the best and some of the brightest minds that we have to offer of any institution in America. And we sit here and we look at an official document from the coroner, the state coroner, and it's supposed to be scientific and objective. But you have him telling us in our community, I don't think they'll try this in any other community, but in our community, they say he's gonna speculate on what Victor White was thinking at the time. He put this in an official report. He says that either one or two things. Number one, he committed suicide, or number two, he accidentally shot himself. And so I'm saying, Southern, I need y'all to tell him, if he's gonna speculate, won't he speculate what everybody's thinking? That it was a homicide. Somebody shot Victor White while he was handcuffed. And we cannot do it without you bright, smart, young people making Victor White's story trend. So hopefully you will leave here today and you will send the message loud and clear that we will not accept, like his mom and daddy, this as suicide. We know what this is. We were born at night, but we weren't born last night.
Amen, amen. First of all, I'd like to say that as a graduate of Southern University Law School, I know that Southern University has always been on the forefront of social justice, and we do not expect anything less as it relates to all these suicide or Houdini type of handcuff cases that are going out through America. See, we're not just limited here to Louisiana, but we must make a difference throughout the country, because that's the type of school that Southern University is. So we thank you all for supporting the White family. It's been a long, tedious journey. Since 5 months or 6 months ago when I got into this case, it absolutely made no sense. We didn't accept the bag of goods then, and we shall not accept it now as it relates to what happened to Victor White III. We serve notice on America that you will not do our children like this. We don't take it. We're not going to take it. And we are going to stand up for justice to make sure that the white family get the justice and come to some type of peace as it relates to the death of their child. I'm not going to hold you long. I just like to thank you all for your support. And I thank Attorney Ben Crump for coming in and working as my co-counsel here, and I don't think of any better person that I could have gotten in America to help us bring some type of resolution, or at least try to bring some type of justice to the White family. Thank you.
Southern University, we have been blessed to have in Reverend Al Sharpton, one of the leaders and the founders of the civil rights movement. And today we've been blessed to hear from two lawyers, current day, who are continuing to carry their flag and light their fire that we definitely need in our communities. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm State Representative Ted James. I'm also a graduate of the Southern University of Lexington. And I have with me our Senator Sharon Weston Broome, who's the President Pro Tem of our Louisiana Senate. And we just wanted, I'm not going to read this resolution, but we definitely wanted to give you just a small token from the Louisiana House of Representatives to thank you for what you're doing, encourage you as a member of the National Bar. I've had the opportunity to watch you way before the cameras and the lights, so I know what you're doing. And when we started law school, somebody told me that the law was not just a career, but a commitment. Amen. And it's a commitment to not only your clients, but it's a commitment to the community. And you two are definitely, I don't know if you saw that same bookmark that I saw, but you are definitely living that life as a lawyer. And we appreciate you here at Southern University. And we're going to carry that message. I know many of these students, they're going to carry that message. As a younger lawyer, I'm going to carry that message as well. We want you to continue to do what you're doing for not only the families that we talked about today, for all of our children, because we definitely need to make sure that they're nurtured, they're cared for, and they're protected under the laws of these states, not only Louisiana, but across the country. Thank you, Mr. Representative.
And I too want to thank both of you all for coming out tonight and encouraging, but serving as a catalyst to ignite our hearts, our spirits into action. Because we know that faith without works is dead. Amen. And we have a lot of work to do in our community and for our community and for our young black men. And so on behalf of the Senate, Attorney Crump, I present you with this commendation and thank you so much for all your labor that you have placed to help make the world a better place for black men in America. Thank you.
Thank you, Southern University. God bless you.